Madam Ambassador, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. On behalf of Mr. Friedrich Fallhammer, Chairman of the Institute for the Danube Region and Central Europe, short IDM, I would like to welcome you to the next edition of our event series, Erhard Buzek's Ambassador Talks. Today's discussion is Moldova Goes to Europe, Challenges and Opportunities on the Way to Secure Democracy. We are honored to welcome Victoria Roșa, Ambassador of the Republic of Moldova to Austria, as today's speaker. Welcome again, Madam Ambassador.
Thank you, it's my honor.
Due to unexpected circumstances, Mr. Fallhammer will join us a little bit later. He sends his sincere apologies for not being able to welcome you, Madam Ambassador, and all of you here himself, but he'll be here for conclusory remarks. So this particular event format, Erhard Buzek Ambassador Talks, is named after our former chairman, Erhard Buzek. And for him, Moldova had always a very special place. And maybe this is also one of the reasons why there's a school named after him in Moldova. This particular event provides a platform for ambassadors and diplomats for Central and Eastern Europe to give them opportunity to share insights on key developments in their home countries, but also issues that matter not only locally, but also to a wider European audience. And here at the IDM in Ausgrund, we have this opportunity to connect diplomats, ambassadors with the civil society and wider audience. And Moldova is also a very important country for us at the IDM. It is a country whose challenges mirror many of those that the European Union must also confront. But at the same time, Moldova, and especially Moldova's past elections, presidential elections, parliamentary elections, have demonstrated how even seemingly insurmountable obstacles can actually be met with resilience and democratic commitment. And as an EU candidate country, Moldova offers valuable lessons for the EU, and we look forward to hearing more about it this evening. And to guide us through tonight's discussion, we are joined by Mr. Sebastian Schäfer, who is IDM Director, also our in-house Moldova expert, a passionate supporter of Moldova, and a strong advocate of Moldova's European future. So, Sebastian, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Malvina. Thank you. Thank you for setting the stage and for the nice introductory words. It's true. I'm a very big fan of your country, so it's a big honor to have you with us, Madam Ambassador.
So we are in good hands now.
We hope so. We hope so. I will briefly introduce you, then I'll kick off with a couple of questions, and then we have the opportunity to also ask some questions in the room, and as always, you can also ask questions online. They will be displayed for us here, and then we conclude with one final round. Victoria Roșa, Ambassador of the Republic of Moldova to the Republic of Austria and permanent representative of the Republic of Moldova to the OSCE and international organizations in Vienna, is joining us today, and she has expertise in international relations, European affairs, security and defense, conflict studies, and peace building, being a graduate of the State University of Moldova with a bachelor's and master's degree in the field of international relations. Between July and November 2019, Ambassador held the position of Security and Defense Advisor to the Office of the Prime Minister of the Republic of Moldova. Previously, she led the Moldovan Foreign Policy Association as Executive Director. Ambassador Roșa is the author of several studies and analyses published both in the country and abroad. And during the last 18 years, Madam Ambassador has provided expertise both at the national and international level by participating in various projects initiated by the Swedish Institute of International Affairs, the Institute for War and Peace Reporting, the Women Moldova, Freedom House, the Austrian Ministry of Defence, the Finnish Peace Research Institute, TAMPERE Peace Research Institute, and others. In 2017, she graduated from the Marshall Memorial Fellowship Program offered by the German Marshall Fund in the United States. This is a very impressive CV, and for me, being a think tank, I'm also very jealous of all the different programs you have been participated in. And so from that perspective, of course, for me, it's a perfect set of combination. We like to talk about diplomacy. We like to talk about Moldova, but of course, we as a think tank also would like to talk about your expertise in policy advice. And I would kick off this discussion with the first question actually going in this direction, because Moldova has made visible progress in democratic reforms. Malvina mentioned the presidential election, the referendum, the parliamentary election. I had the pleasure to be in Chisinau when all these events happened in 2024 and 2025. It was impressive to see how the country formed its resilience and showed an impressive democratic reform ability. And to kick us off, what do you see as the single most decisive reform for safeguarding Moldova's democratic institutions over the, say, 12 and 18 months? And what would be the cost of not delivering in time?
Well, thank you very much. First of all, thank you very much for having here, and good evening to everybody. It's a great pleasure for me to be here and to speak about my lovely country, about Moldova. And I'm very happy to see that there is so much interest in the developments which are happening now in the region, especially in the Republic of Moldova. To be sincere, I think that you have mentioned this, my background, and there are also some other things that I have done which are not included there, but which I think that are very valuable for my position now as a diplomat, because having these various activities which are included in my CV somehow are helping me now to understand better many contexts that are there, but also to link together different subjects in order to form a better opinion, but also to explain better many things that are happening inside my country. And saying that, I think that one of the most important things that we have to deliver, and it was very important to deliver up until now, it was the justice reform. The justice reform, because practically every development in the country, it is related to rule of law, it is related to good governance, which is impossible to be realized in case you don't have a very strong justice system in place. And I think that this was also one of the main priorities of our president, Maia Sandu, and she has actually stated this as a priority during her presidential campaign, but also during the time when she was a prime minister, because she had a very clear understanding that without a strong justice and anti-corruption system, it is impossible to make very thorough reforms inside the country. And to justice and to anti-corruption is linked everything, both economy, both social welfare, the healthcare system. So each and every subject and issue of the daily life of people, it is linked to justice and to rule of law. And I think that this was very wise from her side to put forward this absolutely impressive and to push for a reform process which actually changed the way that Moldova was developing up until that point in time. And I think that now we have already seen the reports of the European Union, but also we see the reports of our partners, which are showing great progress in the sense of reforming the justice system, reforming the anti-corruption system. But of course, we do understand that this is not an easy job, that this takes time. And also it needs a constant commitment from politicians, a constant commitment from institutions, from public officials who are engaged in the process, because this is not an easy task. But also this takes commitment from the part of the society. Because when we are talking about justice and anti-corruption, it means that each and every one of us has to bring their input into solving the daily issues that emerge due to corruption. And sometimes we do realize that each and every one of us have to change our mentality, because things cannot be done as they used to be done previously. So definitely it also requires a change in the way of life, in the way that you are communicating with other people, in the way that you are communicating to institutions as well, but also in the way that you see the fulfillment of your rights as a citizen, and this contract that you have as a citizen with the state and with the services that the state is providing to you. So this is why I think that it was a big process. It was like a small ball which rolling little by little has become a big ball, because while rolling down, it actually has taken on board many stakeholders, including the society. And I'm very happy to acknowledge that going to back home today, you see that the institutions are performing differently. You see that people already changed their mentality, that people changed their views in relation to the communication with the authorities, but also in communication to one another. But also, I think that a great achievement was also to not only think about justice separately, but also thinking about different other reforms which were needed to be put in place, like, for example, technological development, ensuring that you have less human contact at some point does help in reducing corruption, because when you can provide services electronically, then you will definitely bring an added value to the anti-corruption policies that are put in place. Of course, I think it's also very important to deliver in terms not only on small corruption cases, but also on big corruption cases. And also here, that justice has to make its job as well. But for this, you really need to have a good justice system in place. So they are all connected in one way or another. And what we see now, that the justice system is starting to function better and better in sense of providing results in everything which is related to the good functionality of the rule of law in the country. And I think that this is actually the result of the great effort that was put in place by our authorities, by the civil society, by the politicians, including, who had on their agenda the justice reform and the anti-corruption reform as well. And definitely now we can see some results coming out of all this process, which has encountered a big resistance, both from the part of practitioners, those who didn't want to reform, those who didn't want to change, but also from the part of the institutions, because they were led by people who didn't want to change, doing business as usual. So I think that having the European Union close to us, having development partners close to us who have pushed a lot, but also gave us financial support, expertise in order for us to be able to deliver on this reform, did help us a lot in time. And now we can definitely see good results. But this is not the end. This is a long process. We do realize that we are somewhere in the middle, and we really need to continue reforming. We really need to continue training people who would be able to do the job. Of course, we have the vetting system, which also has to deliver and to be conducted in a proper manner. So there is a lot of work to do. And I think that if Moldova will continue with the same pace, it would have good results, and it would definitely provide a safer environment, both for its citizens, but also for investors from abroad. because we know very well that companies, that countries, partners are investing in a safe environment, and they do need to have this safety net in order to be sure that their investment will be secured.
Mm-hmm. So you would say ongoing reform process, especially in the judiciary?
Yes, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. I think that the judiciary is one of the key domains where Moldova has to continue delivering.
You mentioned the EU accession process is also something that supports not only with financially, but also with expertise, and helps to identify maybe shortcomings in certain areas, and certainly also in the rule of law aspect is one of the central chapters when it comes to EU enlargement. But the EU the support for EU membership is very strong, which we can see in the results, but it's not uniform. It was more than 50%, but it was in certain cases, especially when we look at the referendum, it was slightly above 50%. It was a real nail biter. The Central Election Commission provides a perfect website where you can update constantly, and it's fantastic. It's better than watching linear TV, I would say. But maybe you have to have some predisposition for the country. Anyway, my next question would be how the government can maintain this momentum for the EU agenda in a period where accession will require difficult compromises in the country, and where citizens might expect quicker results that the process realistically can provide, given also the danger that not every EU member country might be in favor of enlargement when it comes to the point of deciding about the membership of Moldova.
Yeah, thank you very much. This is a very relevant question now. I will tell you one thing. Moldova has demonstrated during these elections and last year elections that we are a democratic country, that we do cherish the opinion of each and every voter in the Republic of Moldova, and that we respect their opinion. And I think that the fact that people were feeling free to cast their vote, even if they are pro or against the European Union accession of the Republic of Moldova, even if they are pro or against the pro-European parties. I think that this shows the level of democracy that we are able to maintain, and that we are actually respecting the rights of each and every citizen in the Republic of Moldova. It is absolutely normal to have different opinions, because the opinion of each and every person is constructed on a series of elements, be it their background, be it their knowledge, be it the information that they are receiving from different sources. And I think that this is very important to understand when you analyze the data, if we are looking at the processes which already took place. You know very well that Moldova and Moldovan citizens were very much influenced also by the Russian media environment when it comes to information, because we do have a large population who is still speaking the Russian language, and of course for them it is easier to access information in Russian, and they will definitely incline more to read, but also to believe what are these sources telling. The threat that is coming from the elements of hybrid warfare. And we have done a lot of work inside the country in order to secure our environment, but also to start communicating more with our citizens. And what we see in the current parliamentary elections, we see citizens of the Republic of Moldova who are primarily Russian speakers who voted pro-European party. And this is a great development, I would say, because that means that they started to receive alternative information that we have been providing also in the Russian language, because we understood how important it is to reach out to people who are not only Romanian speakers, but also Russian speakers. You know that we have the autonomous region of Gagauzia, which is mainly Russian speakers, and this is unfortunate because we would definitely like them to speak Gagauz language more in order for them to preserve their culture and their language. And this is a priority also for our authorities to maintain the traditions, the culture, and the language of the national minorities which are in the Republic of Moldova. So definitely, I would say that the mentality is changing very quickly. Also because people do understand the threat which is coming from the Russian Federation in the terms of war. Because the war that the Russian Federation has urged on Ukraine definitely had an impact on the way that the population in the Republic of Moldova is perceiving the Russian Federation at the moment. Because if we put it bluntly, no one wants to die. People in nowadays have a very a certain level of welfare. People in nowadays, they want to live, they want to enjoy culture, they want to go to a concert, they want to enjoy time with their families. They want to go out and walk in the park. They don't want to have an arm in their hands. So I think that this internal context, the internal efforts that the authorities have put in order to provide more alternative information to our population so that it is accessible for them, but also the external context has created the premises for the people in the Republic of Moldova to start thinking critically. And this critical thinking is something that we noticed during the parliamentary elections, which took place this year. We do have a pro-European majority in the parliament, and this is really a big achievement, taking into account how many crises the previous government, but also the political elite had to overcome, because we had COVID, we had the war in the region, we had economic difficulties as well as everywhere in Europe. And it was not something that only Moldova faced, but we faced it at the European level, but also globally. And I think that taking into account everything that I have said up until now, we as a small country, as a country which is fighting for its democracy, but also with the support of Austria, with the support of each and every individual EU country, we have managed to overcome all these crises in such a way that we have progressed, that we have moved forward. And this is, for me, a great achievement, I would say. And this shows a level of maturity also of the institutions in the Republic of Moldova, but also a level of maturity of citizens individually.
Thank you. Additionally to that, I would even also say like that the energy crisis that has happened,
Yes,
which was very serious and was with a joint effort by both the government and also the European partners.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. For us, it would have been impossible to overcome the energy crisis, but also many other crises without the support of our EU partners, and not only EU partners, because also US has a great role in that, United Kingdom, Norway, because countries have provided support individually. And I can also like to mention one more thing. Regarding the development assistance that Moldova has been receiving up until now during the years, because it's a very interesting topic, the Women, Peace and Security agenda. And Moldova has embarked on this topic and has taken it as a priority for many, many years, I would say, because we already have the second action plan on WPS, which is ongoing. And at first, it was very difficult to advocate for the Women, Peace and Security agenda in Moldova because nobody understood what does that mean. But working with institutions, putting in place some very clear requirements and procedures in this respect has helped us to overcome the humanitarian crisis that emerged once with when the war started in Ukraine. Because the priority refugees which were passing the border with the Republic of Moldova were women and children. So this was the profile of the refugees which were coming to Moldova, and usually these were people who didn't have a very high level of income, because those who had a high level of income, they were passing through Moldova and leaving further. While the people who didn't have the possibilities, women with children, elderly persons, they remained in Moldova. And you know, all the institutions in Moldova were able to provide the respective assistance to each category of refugee which was there, because they already had the procedures in place. We have been discussing about women, peace and security, about how to manage different crises from the gender perspective, how to assist in certain difficult situation or crisis situation. And nobody was raising the question, what are the needs of the women or what are the needs of the children? They already knew. They knew how to react. So something that at the beginning was like third type topic, not a priority, became a first priority. And we managed to overcome this crisis due to the fact that in our development assistance requirements, gender was a priority.
Thank you. You already mentioned the Russian interference and the sheer magnitude of also financial means that was poured into the country to influence the election. If we look at what we have seen uncovered by investigative journalists when it comes to the presidential election, we talk about $150 million that
Or even more.
Or even more that were poured into the country to influence the election, and probably a similar amount that was used to influence the parliamentary election. But you mentioned that there was a strong resilience built up within the population, and a strong will to adhere to democratic principles. Is there something that we can learn here in the European Union from the Moldovan case? Would you have a recommendation? And here I appeal to the more think tank side in here.
Yeah.
What are recommendations that we should take into consideration? Because I think we direly need to learn to fight against foreign influence.
Yes, this is a very important topic for us because it was, I think, the biggest threat to the national security of the Republic of Moldova, and I think that we have succeeded again with the support of our partners, because a lot of effort was put into Republic of Moldova in order for us to succeed in this respect. But I think that the key to our success was the fact that we were able to build on bridges, between institutions and society, to build bridges between institutions, civil society, economy, business. So each and every stakeholder in the Republic of Moldova was engaged into communication, but also into a network of distribution of tasks that they had to fulfill in order to secure their own environment, and in this way to secure the entire Republic of Moldova and the Republic of Moldova's national interest. I think that this is very very important, and it's key actually, because when we started our closer relationship with the European Union, a lot was done from the part of the institutions, the governmental institutions, but also from our European partner. But what was lacking was the dialogue with the population. So assistance was provided, reforms were ongoing, but the population didn't know about it. So they were unaware. And for example, one of the biggest roads in Moldova, which was constructed under the best quality services as it can be, and it was constructed by with the support of the United States. Some others were constructed with the support of the European Union. If you would have asked people in the street, they were saying at that point in time, "Oh, but this is a road which was built by the Russian Federation." So, you know, the disinformation was at such a high level that people were believing the information that they were receiving, and they didn't have the alternative information. So then we understood how important it is to communicate with the general public and to engage them into the reform process, but also to brief them constantly about the developments, about what you are doing, about what is going to be the impact, what is a stereotype, what is a false information, what is a fake news, and so on and so forth. I think that having this communication on an ordinary basis, it already became a habit, both for the institution, but also for the citizens who were well aware of the fact that they can receive information from the government, and there are different other platforms that they can engage into this type of communication. The second important thing that was very valuable for Moldova was the fact that we were talking about critical thinking, and we were elaborating different programs of critical thinking and debunking fake news, media literacy, at different levels, from students to different other categories of people, public officials, civil society, journalist community, and so on and so forth. So people were engaged into communicating, into creating networks, into debunking, into safeguarding their own place where they live, where they work, and where they communicate with others. I think that this was actually the key, but also something that is really important from my perspective is not to take for granted what you have. Because we start to feel comfortable, all of us, everywhere. We feel comfortable with our way of life, and we don't want to exit this zone of comfort. And I will tell you an example. Before 2014, before the visa liberalization was put in place with the Republic of Moldova, if you were talking to people in the street or to your family, they were traveling mostly for their holidays to Turkey or to other places where they didn't need to apply for a visa. Not so many people were traveling to the European Union. I would say a very small amount of people was traveling to the EU. And they didn't realize how important for them it is to have the visa free. They were saying, we don't generally need it, right? But when the visa free was put in place, people little by little started to travel, and they traveled to the EU. They started to see a new way of life. They saw that in the EU, people are the same as us. They have the same problems. They say they have the same needs. They have the same fears as we do. And EU started to become very popular. And now I think every second person in Moldova, if they will decide to go for a holiday, they will go in an EU country, right? Because they have the possibility to travel. And nobody already remembers how difficult it was to receive a visa, because they are already comfortable. They take it as something which they have and they don't have to fight for. But the institutions have fought a lot in order for us to be able to fulfill all the commitments and to have the visa-free regime. And I think that this is a good lesson for all of us, that we should not take for granted, democracy, that we should not take for granted our freedoms, and that we should not take for granted, the fight that was fought by our predecessors, because this took us in the place that we are now, to enjoy the liberties that we have.
Yeah, I very much remember when in 2014 the visa-free regime was introduced, because that was actually my first time I traveled, shortly after, and yeah, there was a celebration of
Yes.
this, and also the approximation to the European Union, which of course then took a little bit some twists and turns, and now it's hopefully on a good track. I think it's also worth mentioning, maybe correct me if I'm wrong, that there is an outstanding regarding this fighting against foreign interference and disinformation. There's an outstanding investigative journalism happening that uncovered this, and I think also that of course, I mean, the diaspora shaped the vote very much. Yeah? So it's also something that maybe already happens. What you described, this traveling, is also that they are staying in EU member countries, because I think that especially the diaspora in the EU member countries decisively influenced the vote in a positive way, in the sense that they voted for a pro-European approach.
You are absolutely right, and this is actually referring to the point when I said that each and every stakeholder in Moldova was doing their job, because we did have the Ziarul de Gardă and other institutions who were doing this investigative journalism, and they are still doing it with a lot of risks for their own safetyness. But at the same time, they understood the value of the work that they are doing, and the fact that people are receiving very well the information and the products that come as a result of their investigation. And this was very much appreciated by the whole of the society. When it comes to the diaspora, I think that the profile of the Republic of Moldova diaspora abroad is a bit different compared to other countries. Because, and I would say it very honestly, Moldova is a very beautiful country. I don't know how many of you visited it, but it's a country which you don't want to live if you don't necessarily need to, because of the economic hardship that the family have, or some other reasons. It's a beautiful country. It's a country which develops, and what we see now, it's a lot of people who are coming back to Moldova. And, I am talking to a lot of people in the diaspora who are telling me that they want to come back. And I immediately ask them, okay, but why do you want to come back? Do you feel like now you have the proper means to have a good life in Moldova? And they say, yes, because, my cousin has established a business, and he said, come on, let's do it together, and we will develop it even further. There are a lot of grants, a lot of programs which you can easily access and develop these small and medium enterprises back home. And this is something that we didn't have before, because people were not thinking in terms of themselves being responsible for their own welfare. Because we have this Soviet past where everything was common, where people were working for the state and not necessarily for themselves. Now, they being in the European Union and working in the European Union, they realize that there is another way of life, that they can be masters of their own welfare and of their own life. So now there is a trend of people who are coming back home and establishing their own businesses. I can tell you my personal experience. I have been talking yesterday with my neighbor who is working in Germany, and he said, like, in 2 years, I hope to be back at home. And I was very happy because he will also take care of my house as well, being there. But the idea is that I was happy to hear him, that he is happy to come back home, and that he sees his future in the Republic of Moldova, and he sees his family in the Republic of Moldova. This is a trend which is happening now, as I mentioned, and this is a very important characteristic nature of the Moldovan diaspora, because even though they left the country because of the economic hardship that Moldova was passing through, they never lost the communication and the contact with the country. They were all the time sending money back home, because they were leaving their families there, their parents, some left their children there. So they grew up in Moldova. Now, with this educational mobility that it is in place, students are traveling, they are gaining experience, and they want to come back home because they feel good at home. Everybody feels good at home. Nobody wants to leave their home if it's not absolutely necessary. And I think that this is very important to acknowledge, because this is a big feature of Moldova. And I think that here lies also the future of our country. Because with these people coming back, with these people having another mentality, it means that there is a way forward for Moldova and for all the developments that now are put in place.
I'm sorry to raise now a bit of a less optimistic topic, because I mean we already touched upon that Russia's war against Ukraine is shaping everything in the region. If we look at this alleged peace proposal that was coming out of the United States today, which is not really encouraging in the sense of that if this is implemented, I would say this is the basis for the next war, the next attempt to conquer Ukraine. This, of course, will also have direct consequences for Moldova. How is Moldova defining its security role within Europe at a time when neutrality and resilience and deeper cooperation within the EU partners all pull in different directions? I know that the Moldova Security Forum just took place. Maybe you can give us some insights of what the discussion about the security prospects for Moldova are.
In terms of security, I think that it's very important to acknowledge the fact that this was not a topic of discussion up until, I would say, 2019, when first the energy crisis actually started. Then it started to develop, and we realized how many instruments are used in order to create insecurity in Moldova, and that each and every field can be used in order to provide insecurity in the country. Then we started to think about security even more when Russia started the war of aggression in Ukraine. Then we realized that each and every sector is linked to security. That there is that there is food security, that there is energy security, that there is informational security, and so on and so forth. And I think that here we started to change the way that we view the development of the country, but also starting to think about the role of Moldova in this wider security architecture, mostly, I would say, East European security architecture. And we very firmly understood that we want to contribute, that we would like to be also a provider of security, not only a consumer of security. And I think that this is actually shaping today the way that Moldova is promoting itself as a country, but also the way that Moldova is shaping its security policies as such. You know that the Republic of Moldova is a full supporter of Ukraine, of Ukraine's independence, sovereignty, and territorial integrity. We will stand with Ukraine until the end. Ukraine is our neighbor. Ukraine is our friend. Ukraine, you can also say that it is our relative, because a lot of people in Moldova do have relatives in Ukraine. And for us, the war is also something that we take it personal, because many people in Moldova have suffered personally because of the war in Ukraine. And I would say that Moldova institutionally is doing its best, and more than that, in order to provide all the support which we can do as a neutral country to Ukraine in order to withstand the Russian aggression. For Moldova, this is also very important due to the fact that you know that we have a secessionist conflict on our territory, and we know what a Russian aggression is. In 1992, we stood alone in front of an aggression, and it was not easy for us at that point in time because we had to think about us as a statehood, as an independent country, as a country which is developing, and at the same time to withstand such a powerful aggressor. This is why at the moment we are very happy to have a lot of friends beside us who are helping Republic of Moldova and who do understand the threat that Moldova is under, as well as Ukraine. So this is why I think that we as a country are there to provide, I would say, security, because we do understand the challenge. We are there to provide expertise, because we were in a position to withstand aggression, and we were in a position, you know, also to withstand this unfortunately frozen conflict for more than 30 years. And we are definitely in a position to be a reliable partner in terms of security for our European partners, because we see it, the security, only a common security. You cannot provide, you cannot ensure security for yourself only. This has to be a common goal that has to be achieved. And each and every one of us, I mean individual states in Europe, have to understand that if something is affecting Moldova, at some point it will affect them as well. If something is affecting Ukraine, then definitely the spillover effect is going to take place, because we are not living in a vacuum. We are all interconnected, and now even more. And when it comes to security, we definitely have to provide and to secure ourselves together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it was Politico who had the headline, if Ukraine sneezes, Europe catches a cold. I was very not surprised, because I mean, as you have described, Moldova has been a very good neighbor to Ukraine especially since the full-scale invasion. But I was very delighted by the clear words that the new Prime Minister also found for the support regarding Ukraine. And it's also, of course, something when you say the experience, if we now are discussing to freeze some front lines or even make territorial concessions, and if you look at your case, the Russian army is still there after more than 30 years. And this is certainly not a prospect advocating for freezing conflicts, but rather finding a way to just peace. And hopefully that will also lead to the resolvement of further frozen conflicts, rather than creating new frozen conflicts in the region.
For us, the illegal troops of the Russian Federation on our territory are unacceptable. This is something that we plead on all the international platforms for the withdrawal of the illegal Russian military presence on the Republic of Moldova's territory in the Transnistrian region, but also the withdrawal of the ammunition from the Kolbasna depot. Why this is important? Because first of all, it violates the statute of neutrality of the Republic of Moldova. Moldova is a neutral country, and there should be no foreign military presence on our territory. As well as Moldova, it's a sovereign, it's an independent country, and its territorial integrity should be preserved. And this is a direct, I would say, infringement when it comes to the Russian military presence on our territory. And definitely we do consider this is also being precondition for finding the peaceful solution to the Transnistrian conflict, because their place is not there.
Yeah, I think a big contribution here could again be European integration. We can see that economically Transnistria is also looking towards the European Union. We could also see that in the election that there has been, for me at least, a surprising amount of people from Transnistria voting for pro-European parties. But this accession talks are entering a more technical phase now. So if we look at the opening negotiating chapters, what do you expect will be the most politically sensitive for Moldova? And where would support from EU member states, and especially maybe the countries and from the region that we are working in Central Europe, make the biggest difference?
First of all, I would like to ask you and all the others who are here and who are listening, when you are referring to the left bank of the Dnistru River, to refer to it as the Transnistrian region or the Transnistrian region of the Republic of Moldova. It will be even better, because it is a region and it is part of the Republic of Moldova. And when we refer to it as Transnistria, then it definitely sounds as we are giving it a certain status, which should not be the case, because it's the integral territory of the Republic of Moldova. And this is why we definitely advise and would like for you to be referring to it as the Transnistrian region of the Republic of Moldova. And you have mentioned it very well, that indeed in the Transnistrian region, the companies are operating under the DCFTA, the Deep and Comprehensive Free Trade Agreement. That means that they can export into the European Union as well as the other countries, as long as they comply to all the requirements that are in place and that were negotiated between the EU and the Republic of Moldova. And coming back to your main question regarding the most difficult chapters that we would negotiate, I think that for Moldova, when it comes to becoming a member of the European Union, nothing is difficult. Because we see the membership in terms of security, but also in terms of adhering to a community of states where we can be sure that we can develop democratically, where we can preserve our main and fundamental freedoms, and where we can develop further our economy and our societies as well. So I think that Moldova and the institutions of Moldova have put a lot of effort up until now, an unimaginable effort, in order to finalize the screening process. Of course, we had a lot of support also from the European Union in this process. And this is why I think that during the negotiations, we will also have this support, because the negotiations are not going to take place as they did during the other waves of enlargement. The context is a bit different. So I think that definitely from our side, we will do our best in order to be able to promote our national interest as such, but also to comply to the needs, but also to the principles of the European Union that were created in time. So we are very well aware of that. This is not something that we are building from scratch, the relationship, but there is an institution which is already in place, which is functional, and we do realize that we will have also to adjust to its functionality. So I think that this is very important to mention, because we are well aware of that. Of course, on the other hand, it is very important to take into account the needs of the Republic of Moldova so that we can have a smooth adjustment, but also integration. And I'm really sure that both sides will definitely find good ground for discussion and communication, but also will find solution how to do that.
Thank you very much also for your valuable input, because I know that words matter. I go around and try to convince the Austrians that it's actually Republic Moldova and not Moldavian. So it's good, but I'm sure that you understand that I'm not referring to the region of Transnistria to anything else than what it is, a region of the Republic of Moldova. I see we have already 2 questions online that have been put in the chat. This is very good. I will also open, of course, the floor for questions here in the room if they are there. And so we have our IDM member Andreas Vögel, who asked the question. What is the government's plan to resolve the region of Transnistria status? This might be of significance for investors. I've been frequently to Moldova as a consultant for the EBRD to reconstruct the new Furul ALB sanatorial, which is now seeking investment to enlarge the facility. I will try to assist to collect eventual investors or parties interested in this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you very much. This is a very valid question. For sure, Republic of Moldova, you know that we have a Bureau for Integration, and we do pay a lot of attention to everything that is related to reintegration policies. I must say that our institutions are putting a lot of efforts in place in order to actually every day to solve the issues of the people on both banks of the Dniester River, on the right and on the left bank. And there are some institutionalized processes which are ongoing and which meet in certain points in time in order to discuss different topics, from economic issues to education, transport, and so on and so forth. I think that even though we didn't reach a political solution to the Transnistrian conflict because obvious reason, because there is also the context that has to be in place in order to do that, each and every day the government is working into facilitating the life of the people, which at the end of the day also means reintegration. Because providing healthcare services to people of the Republic of Moldova who are residing on the left bank of the Dniester River, providing opportunities for youngsters to learn in universities in Chișinău, for example. These are already elements of reintegration of the country, and they're happening every day. So I think that these are the practical aspects of us doing our job for the reintegration. And of course, there is another process which is ongoing and which is related to finding the political solution to the Transnistrian conflict settlement, which definitely at some point will have an outcome. At the moment, we are in a status quo situation. You know that the conflict in Ukraine, or the Russian aggression in Ukraine, does also have an impact on the process of conflict settlement, due to the fact that we have the 5+2 format of negotiations, which is not functional at the moment, also due to the fact that we have Ukraine and the Russian Federation who were mediators in this format of negotiations. So definitely, I think that in time, the proper context, the proper discussions will lead to a solution, but this is yet to come. In the meantime, we are doing our best as a government, as institutions, to help people to live their ordinary life with less impediments for them due to the prolonged conflict.
Thank you. Allow me a quick follow-up, because we have been talking about the electoral results. When we look at the autonomous region of Gagauzia, the election, the vote not for pro-European parties, or the other way around, to vote for the alternative bloc and the majority bloc has been, I think, close to 80%, which is far more than in the region of Transnistria. Do you think with looking at European integration that this is also something that might have to be resolved, even if it's not a frozen conflict, and thankfully not a conflict per se?
For sure, it's not a conflict, but we do understand how much we as a government, how much we as an institution have to put our efforts into making each and every citizen of Moldova feeling good at home, but also pleading and doing all its best as individual in order to secure the national interest of the country. I think that this is very important, that all of us should think about their own country and not about a third country when it comes to promoting their interests or thinking about the welfare of a certain country. And I think that we acknowledge that, and we started to build these bridges of communication with citizens all over Moldova in order to bring them all together into the bubble called Republic of Moldova, and to make them feel part of their country. This is again also related to the policies that the government is undertaking. And I think that we have made a good progress in the way that we are communicating also to the language minorities in Moldova, but also to the ethnic minorities in Moldova. You will see that our president, Maia Sandu, when she addresses to the nation, she would definitely use practically in all her speeches the languages of the national minorities. Each and every region in Moldova will be involved in the videos that are done with a particular specific celebration in Moldova or big event. And this is very important because she is the president of each and every person, regardless of its ethnic minority, of the language that the person is speaking, of the age, of the gender. And this messaging actually, it was actually our President Sandu who started this wave of integration of all the people in the Republic of Moldova into this super beautiful bubble, Republic of Moldova. And this is something that I believe that it is very important because it doesn't matter what language you speak. If we are able to communicate, to respect each other, if we are able to understand that Moldova is our country and that we need to defend it, and that we cannot accept somebody from abroad to come with false narratives or with distorted information, and to claim that we should respect their interests, that we should promote their interests. If we will understand that, we will definitely be able to provide more security for our country, but also to provide more security for the region as such. And I do think that already this is understood among also the Russian-speaking minorities in the Republic of Moldova, but also because of the fact that we started to provide more assistance to them to learn, for example, the Romanian language, that we have, put in place this We call it Council on Anti-Discrimination because it has a very long title, and it is easier to say that we have different criteria of discrimination. And if somebody wants to complain, they can definitely do so. And people are feeling that they are heard already. It's not that they are left behind with their needs as such. We started to actually understand the fears of people in Moldova and try to connect to them and to dismantle the fears that they have. And usually the fears are connected to lack of knowledge. This is why, again, communication is the key. More that you communicate, more information you provide, less fear you will have from the part of the population and of the people as such. And it doesn't matter in what language you would communicate, in Romanian or in Russian. You have to provide information to people so that it is accessible for them.
Thank you. So we have another question online, but I would give the floor first here to the person in the room. Can you briefly introduce yourself, please? Yeah.
My name is David Dondo. I am a former Georgian diplomat, your colleague, an ambassador here and elsewhere. My question is a sort of follow-up to what Sebastian already asked you about security. And you talked about it, but I want to specifically zoom in on neutrality status of Moldova, which is enshrined in your constitution from the very beginning of your independence, 1994, unless I'm mistaken. So, as I know, there are debates, sort of debates in the country. There is no common approach for the future of neutrality among politicians and civil society and policy analysts. So I'm interested in, personally, in your opinion of a diplomat with a think tank background. How do you see the perspectives of keeping neutrality status within a constitution, especially in terms of Moldova becoming a member of the EU, and EU making more and more focus now on defense and security frameworks? Can will not become a vulnerability, as some political analysts predict, or what is your opinion?
Thank you very much for this question. It's a very valid question. It appeared many times. What I can say is that Moldova is a neutral country, and we see it as an active neutrality because it doesn't mean that being neutral you don't have to act or you cannot contribute to security. I think that, as I mentioned previously about the field of security, that we were not discussing it previously. As well, we were not discussing neutrality. People couldn't understand what the neutral status means. So I think that explaining more about what is neutrality, how you can perform as a neutral country in the sense of securing your own country, but also providing security to others, or contributing to a larger security architecture is very important. At the moment, even though there are talks at the level of the government, we are and of the country as such, our security status is a neutral country, and from this position we are actually acting and shaping our policies in the sense of security policies as such. And I think that to be sincere, if I would evaluate our activities, I would say that we are performing quite good and that we have a lot of results. And I would definitely plead for developing our security, of developing the knowledge, developing the capacities, because neutrality doesn't mean that you don't have to have security as such. You do have to have it, and usually better than the countries that are not neutral as such.
Thank you. We have two questions by Juanita Gomez Tavares. One is quite shortly to be answered, I guess. What's the correct typology for Moldova in English and German? Is it just Moldova enough, or should we be saying Republic of Moldova, and in German Moldova or Moldavian?
This is a good question. I think that the Republic of Moldova is the correct terminology. It's the name of the country. We do refer to our country as Moldova as well. I wouldn't say that it would be a mistake to say so. In German, tell me please, how it would be more correct.
In German, I mean the Swiss-German solution is to simply refer to it as Moldova.
Moldova.
Then you can't make any mistake.
Yes, for sure.
But in German, it would be Moldau or Republic Moldau, because Moldavian is the Russian transliteration. And this is simply not, I mean, we don't refer to anything else in the countries not named by the language of the country. And so this is.
Then we have the answer.
Yeah. The second more complicated answer, I think, is how is the Russian Orthodox Church branch being managed in view of the defense of Russian interference? I think maybe in view of the defense against the Russian.
Well, this is a very specific question, I would say, and yes, we cannot say that the Russian or the Orthodox Church in Moldova, which is connected to the Russian Orthodox Church, was not involved in spreading different types of information. This is a reality. It happened in the villages, it happened in cities. Priests were providing political discourses during mass celebrations or even gatherings in church. But this is not something new, that the Russian Federation was using religion in order to promote its interests in different countries. It is very important for us to understand that we have to separate church, religion from politics. And this is I would say also the responsibility of each and every person to say, stop, this is enough. I came here because I want to pray, because I want to listen to some religious stories, but not to listen to a political monologue. And we do see that many people in Moldova started to resist this kind of discourse, and also mentioning and saying that it is not okay to do so. This is a very sensitive topic, I would say, because it is used by the Russian Federation as a mean of hybrid warfare. This is why we as a country have to be very careful of how we deal with this issue. And I would mention once and again that it is also the responsibility of each and every citizen to say stop, but also as a government, as a country, we do have to act in case that we see that there is an interference, it is a blunt interference. And we have to take the proper actions in order to secure our space and to secure the space where our citizens are gathering and spending their time.
Thank you very much. Yeah, there's another question in the room. Short introduction, and then the question.
I'm not at all the expert on Moldova, but I've been there twice OSCE election observation, and I'm actually a U.S. citizen, and I know the focus is EU in Moldova. But I also know that the U.S. has been supporting economic development, democratic development in Moldova. And my impression, Moldova. My impression is, it shows I'm not an expert. My impression is that this support has been cut dramatically. Is that true? How will that affect? Because encouraging democratic development, encouraging economic development in Moldova, brings it closer to the EU, makes it a stronger country. But is it true that US aid has been cut dramatically, and how will it affect Moldova's development into the as an EU candidate?
Yes, thank you very much for the question, and I really hope that you will become an expert on Moldova after this. But you know, I was asked many times about this question, and indeed, the USAID, you know, that it stopped its programs in Moldova, but at the same time, Moldova is receiving a lot of assistance from the United States, including in securing our energy security system. What I would like to mention is that it doesn't matter how the system is going to be framed in the future, but we do have to acknowledge that all the support that US has provided via USAID up until it was functioning, it was so huge and it contributed a lot to the path of the Republic of Moldova joining the European Union. Because you mentioned it very, very clearly and very well. US has invested in Moldovan democracy and in the rule of law. And this definitely has contributed to the bigger picture and to the bigger goal that Republic of Moldova has, is to become member of the European Union. I was very fortunate to participate in a project of evaluating one of the biggest projects that the USA had in Moldova on media literacy. And during this process, I had the honor to interview many stakeholders in Moldova in order to evaluate the impact of the program. And I can tell you that after finalizing the interviews and talking to people, I was absolutely amazed how much investment USAID and the United States has put in providing media literacy, but also critical thinking knowledge in the Republic of Moldova. And this relates to what I have been saying from the very beginning. This has changed the mentality of people. This has changed the general context in the Republic of Moldova. You know that they have provided assistance of media literacy program for people with hearing and visual impairments. How many countries have this kind of programs of media literacy for people who cannot hear and who cannot see? They have been providing a lot of assistance to the media environment, to independent media, in order for them to be able to provide information in the Russian language, to provide alternative information and media outlets in the autonomous region of Gagauzia. This gave the possibility to people to access alternative information, to read something else, not only what they were used to, the Russian information and the information provided via the media information space of the Russian Federation. So I would say that it was a huge assistance that was provided. It definitely now it is rethought the way that this assistance is given to the Republic of Moldova, but we are very grateful to the assistance that was provided, and we look forward to continuing our cooperation with the United States as a partner who is investing in the development of Moldova, in the democratic development of Moldova.
Thank you. Was there another question? No, okay. Then online also not. I do have more questions. We will also show a video in a second, and Malvina, please just join the Zoom call and share it and then we can see it also on YouTube later. So while we technically prepare for this, allow me a question regarding Malvina also mentioned in the very beginning the Ahad Busek school in Chisinau. And since it's the Ahad Busek ambassador talks, of course, we also briefly need to touch upon this. It marks a certain step in strengthening the Moldovan-Austrian relations.
Yes.
But from your perspective, how can this initiative also deepen this bilateral cooperation? Maybe it's also something that is viewed critical, and where do you see the greatest potential for joint projects or capacity building in the coming years?
Thank you very much. I'm very happy that you brought this topic, because I think that it is absolutely great that we have this international school in Moldova, which actually it's very much focused on the topics of the future, as I call them, on electronics, IT. And for me, this is a great achievement also due to the fact that students in the Republic of Moldova will be able to access education in 3 languages, in Romanian, in English, and in German. That means that they will be able to provide specialized professional assistance, to a diverse palette of countries. But first of all, to provide assistance to their own country, to Moldova, because having the school in Moldova, it also means that we would be expecting investments, Austrian investments in Moldova, because then you will have a very qualified pool of people, pool of experts, which can offer you qualitative products as such. And for me, this is only a good development. It means that Austria sees a future in Moldova, because this is a huge investment. This project was a very big investment. I think it is the second school of this type, if I recall it properly, which Austria has constructed, has invested in globally, I think. But I have to check that the information.
It's maybe not the second, but there are not that many.
But definitely there are not so many. And I think that this is a sign that Austria is also showing to other countries that Moldova is safe to invest, that Moldova has human resource and has human capacity, and that in Moldova you can find a good environment to live, to work, and to develop.
Thank you very much. So, are we ready to show the video? We need a bit of time. Then I ask my last question first, and then we look at the video. So basically, if we now look ahead for the upcoming negotiations, what would you identify within the next maybe 12 months as the single most important opportunity and the single most significant risk when it comes to the European integration of the Republic of Moldova?
The most important opportunity is to be able to become a member of the European Union, taking into account the momentum. And I think that the biggest challenge on our end will be to secure our homeland, but also to be able to convince each and every one of you who are sitting here that we deserve to be members of the European Union. And this is one of the main tasks of my mandate as well. This is why for me, it's very important to travel throughout Austria and also to bring more information about Moldova. And I'm very happy that this year we actually have concluded our first Moldo-Austrian Memorandum of Understanding between 2 cities. It's the Twin City Agreement. And we had a delegation from Austria coming to Moldova for the Cherry Festival in June, for example. We had a delegation from Moldova coming to Austria. We have done open doors events where we were promoting the culture, the Moldovan culture, the Moldovan traditions as well. And this, I understood, it's the most important thing, the people-to-people contact. Because if you know more about each other, then you will have less fear and anxiousness towards each other. And then you will definitely be more eager to accept the other part into your home. And this is what we would like to see from the members of the European Union, that each and every individual is accepting us to their home, to their community.
Thank you. How are we doing on the technical front?
I think I'll go with you.
All right. Okay. Again, while we set up here, unfortunately, I have also received the message that our chairman will not be able to come. He sends his sincere apologies. But now we hopefully can enjoy in a second the video.
This is definitely a demonstration why I'm saying that the Moldova, for me, it's the most beautiful country. You'll see it with your own eyes. I hope. I hope.
This is another question. I noticed I buy Moldovan prunes or plums.
Yeah.
And since when has Moldova been exporting plums to Hofer?
This is a good question. I will have to check that, but I'm very happy to hear that you have Moldovan plums here because they're one of the best, I would say, and they're very healthy.
Yeah.
I would be very happy to see Moldovan wine in the Viennese stores because the wine is exceptional and you will taste it.
Yes. That's my experience as an observer. I had a partner from Switzerland, and in our area of observation, there was a young vintner who had studied in Germany, come back, and he opened in his home area. And we were in the wine growing area. I forget the actual name now, but it was very good wine. He had a little vineyard, and he's making his own wine. And the Swiss parliamentarian who was with me, he was, wow, he was part of his wheels where he could give it. That's what it is.
Okay, the video is ready. I'm not sure if we'll be able to hear a sound. How incremental is it to the video, or can we?
It's very beautiful, but
Yeah.
it can be also without the sound. These are the beautiful landscapes. These are the vineyards. And you know the famous underground cellars? when I was telling to my Austrian friends here that when we will go to the underground cellars, we have to take a car, they were not believing me. Like, how can you go to a cellar with a car? But then you understand how.
There we go.
Actually, what you see here and the information is about one of the biggest, I would say, wineries in Moldova. But it's important to mention that now a lot of family-owned wineries have developed, and you have so many that I don't even know the count of it.
Yeah, that was what impressed my colleague, the Swiss parliamentarian. There was a young man who studied in Germany, and he'd gone back to his home area. He's opened a small vineyard, very good wine.
Yes, yes.
My colleague was a much better expert than I am in this wine. And he was employing people in this area. Cook.
Yes, many are doing that. A lot of Moldovans are doing that. This is a good sign.
Okay, now that we haven't heard it,
Yes.
but we've seen it.
Yeah.
But one of the beauties of the country is actually the wine. And well, we have the opportunity, at least the ones who joined us here in the room, to also taste a little bit of this beauty.
Yes, and if you will allow me just to mention that this wine was provided by a family-owned winery, Sălcuța. And we are very grateful to them because they definitely are a promoter of Moldovan wine, and they shared with us in order to be able to do tastings. So.
Wonderful. So first and foremost, of course, thank you very much for your time, Ambassador. That was wonderful to have the possibility to exchange about this. So I think a big round of applause. Thank you also for delighting us with that wine. I think I've tried a broad variety, but I haven't heard about this. So I'm very excited about this. But before we get to this, allow me to, of course, also thank you for the interest in joining us, for the engaging questions. Let me thank Malvina Talik for organizing this event, and also for Stine Baudot, who was helping with the technical stuff in the background. Even if we didn't make it run with the video with sound, it's not their fault. I just haven't provided the right equipment for them to do so. So blame me instead of them. Thank you very much for the interest in the IDM. If you haven't done so, subscribe to our newsletter, follow us on social media at IDM Vienna, and maybe even consider becoming a member. There will be membership applications lying around outside, and maybe it helps when we enjoy a nice glass of wine. Thank you very much again, and now I invite you to do so.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry. Oh, thank you. Thank you. It's great to have diplomatic answers, but also a little bit